Good evening and welcome to ISRC TV in a sunny Northamptonshire for the 7th round of the Aquiver eSports Championship at the infamous Silverstone circuit. Situated just on the borders of Northamptonshire and Buckinghamshire in England, Silverstone is one of the oldest tracks in the world and last year hosted its 55th Formula One Grand Prix. But it's not only Formula One that has ventured here, as it's difficult to find an international racing series that's not competed at this 5.9 kilometre circuit. My name is Isaac Barclay, and joining me in the commentary box today is Martin Pearson. The LMP2 cars have just started their qualifying for 15 minutes before handing over to GT3s for the final 20 minutes of qualifying. And Martin, last time in the real world that we saw GT3s venturing out onto track would have been the end of the British GT race where Rob Collard and Sandy Mitchell managed to win the race in a Lamborghini GT3. Do you reckon we'll be able to see the same again here today?
There is potential. Good evening, Isaac. Good evening, everybody. Absolutely, you are correct there, Isaac. There is potential for that today, as we have Hendrik Lichtenhagen from Aquiver Motorsports out in his Lamborghini this evening. But yeah, before then, we'll get through the LMP2 qualifying.
Yeah, like you said, all of the competitors today in the GT3 field, I think, have got a very good good chance out here at Silverstone. But like you said, first out, we've got the LMP2s, and we're on board with this man here. He's had a strong showing since appearing in the Aquiver eSports Championship. Finn Norgard Pedersen, he's competed in 4 races and has won 3 out of the 4. Not having a brilliant run he competed in 5 races, won 3 out of the 5 races. Not having a brilliant showing at the last 2 rounds, having unfortunate coming together last time at Sebring and 2 times before that. Unfortunately getting caught up in traffic at Hockenheim Ring, but he'll be back in the hunt of blood today at Silverstone, and this is the track, if any, to get a win where it is so it just provides such great racing, and it's a very difficult track to drive quickly and win races at.
Yeah, as we ride on board with Finn now, he's coming around Luffield Corner and onto the old start finish straight, losing all of the AstroTurf there, accelerating through Woodcote, across the old start finish line and heading towards Copse. Copse is a fantastic corner. 2 gears down there, I'm surprised, to be honest. I thought there'd just be the one in these high downforce LMP2 machinery, but flat through the first part of Maggot, down a couple of gears for Beckett, and all the way down to secondary, running a bit wide there at the final corner, part of Beckett's, and on through Chapel and onto the Hanger Straight. Long run down the Stowe corner we have now, using all of those 6 gears and all 600 horsepower of these LMP2 cars, chucks it in briefly into second gear, back up to third and fourth, down towards the Tricky Vale. A little bit unsighted on braking here. Tricky left-hander wind out for those sausage curves on now round 2 parts the club now. Used to be more of a constant radius corner, and across the line he goes to go top of the charts with a 1:45.964. It's a decent marker there, Isaac.
It is. He made a couple of mistakes earlier on in the lap, but he'll be looking to try and improve on that. But 45.9 is a very competitive time to start off with, and the others will be hard pressed to go faster than that. They're going to have to push like hell as Larry Capella crosses the line to go 3rd fastest with a 48.2. As this is all of their first flying laps, the cars, I wouldn't expect them to be fully up to temperature, and we should see the lap times coming down very shortly as Marcus Solholm comes across the line to start the first of his flying laps, as he makes his way down towards the very difficult chicane and hairpin of a loop corner before coming down onto the Wellington Straight. This is going to be a favourite place for a lot of the drivers for making overtakes down into Brooklands Corner. You can get right underneath the rear wing of these high downforce LMP2s and even the GTs, and coming into this heavy braking zone. Keep an eye out there, because I imagine we're going to see a lot of overtaking, not only within class, but it's a prime opportunity for the LMP2s to pass the GT3s.
Yeah, with the more recent track layout, that is Silverstone Grand Prix circuit being extended within the last decade, I believe. Brooklands is now a multi-line corner now, with the huge width at a Grand Prix, FIA Grade 1 circuit it requires, and it's a tightening corner which motorbikes don't like, but brilliant for multi-class racing and anything with four wheels really.
Yeah, I don't know if I prefer the new or old Brooklands. I really like the old Brooklands when you've got this slower speed in the old configuration back in 2011, and it was very difficult to make overtakes there, which make you feel more accomplished when you did manage to get a pass. But this new layout is so challenging when you do make it's a lot easier to make moves, but the corner itself is more challenging. So I think it provides a very nice black and white scene there. As you go on board with Larry Capella again, now he's managed to drop down his lap time to get a little bit closer to the leader with a 47.9. That still put him 2 seconds off the pace. But like I said, this is second flying lap, and we've still got another 10 minutes left of qualifying, so expect that lap time to drop rather significantly.
Yeah, being quite a long circuit these days, certainly plenty of opportunity for improvement, or even if you lose a tenth on every corner, then that certainly will add up. But yeah, we've seen it already in the Aquiver eSports Championship that there can be a bit of a spread in the qualifying and on the grid, but then after that, it's actually been blooming close in the race. So that's been fantastic to see that. Yeah, provide us great action to commentate on.
It is, and I think if this is where you see the difference in drivers. I know myself, and I think yourself as well, Martin, you can agree that we're both race-paced drivers.
I knew what you were going to say there.
Yeah, exactly. you know where I'm going with this. And neither myself or Martin are particularly good at race pace, whereas in the qualifying, we can generally find ourselves running in the upper quartile of the grid. So this is, and I think it's similar for a lot of the drivers here today. They might not have the qualifying pace over one lap, but when they get into the race, they might be doing fast lap times than they're doing in qualifying, just able to feel a little bit more confident in the car, and it's led to some really incredible racing. And a duo which has had a brilliant racing since the start is Pedersen and Marcus Solholm, who have been just trading blows ever since Pedersen has joined the championship.
Yeah, couldn't agree more there. That we know in the high downforce configuration, or even the low downforce configuration of these Dalaras, that it is relatively easy to draft up behind somebody on the long straights, wherever you are in the world. Going back to our point on the track layout, I think I do like the new Brooklands that Marcus Solholm's just about to go through now. But I think when ISRPC went there, Intercontinental Sim Racing Porsche Challenge went to Legacy Silverstone bridge. You go underneath the bridge on the other layout, and that is a fantastic corner. You turn left at Abbey, right underneath the bridge, which is a full commitment corner, especially in a Porsche Cup car. And then you've got Brooklands 1 and 2, which joins back up at Luckfield again. So, yeah, I do like the new Brooklands, but I don't know, the Village and the Loop, they don't agree with me, especially on a qualifying lap, as you said earlier.
So as a summary of that, do you reckon, which one do you say you prefer? Do you prefer the new, more high-speed Silverstone, or are you more of a fan of the older stuff? I personally, new Silverstone, love it. I've been there several times in real life, and it's the first track I ever drove in sim racing back in a Assetto Corsa in a GT3 car. And ever since then, I can't get to grips with the old Silverstone, as this new one just speaks out to me so much.
Yeah, it's gonna have to be the old one for me. Call me whatever you like, an old man or whatever. But it's the one I grew up with. Went back in the day, as they say. Just briefly pause our conversation or debate on track layouts. But we've seen Marcus Solholm do a number of laps now, but he's yet to actually set a lap time. I think he's intentionally taking off tracks so that he starts at the back of the LMP2 field. we only have the 4 cars out this evening in LMP2, so I think he's trying to do a bit of a last to first challenge in the champion in this evening's race. He currently has a 3-point lead over Theo Schroeder, who's currently set at 146.43, and Finn Norgard Pedersen is 27 points behind him. So yeah, I don't know. We saw Marcus do this at the first round, I believe. He decided to, at Spa, he decided not to put in a huge amount of effort in qualifying, and yeah, decided to have a bit of a blast from the back and see how it goes.
He managed to win the race out at Spa that he did, and I wonder if we'll see the same today. I think that the competition here with a particular Norgard Pedersen, as Larry Capella gets it quite wrong on the exit of Beckett's Chapel, just getting out onto the grass but able to keep control of it to go through and do another flying lap. But yeah, I think with how strong Pedersen has been over these last couple of rounds, Mark is going to have to do a really, really good job to catch up to and overtake him by the end of the race, and I think it'll be definitely something to watch out for. It's interesting to see him not qualify, and maybe wants to challenge himself starting at the back, but you can have his work cut out with the caliber of these LMP2 drivers. Yeah,
couldn't agree more there. Going back to our discussion debate, the young and old of the track layout. To me, it's got to be the old one. It's the one I grew up with, watching British touring cars and the Grand Prix. You know, being an early '90s baby, unlike yourself, Isaac. It's the true Silverstone in my mind. Yeah, no, I remember watching Michael Schumacher break his leg live in Formula on TV, which that must have been late night, must have been early thousands. You probably still in a pram, perhaps, at that point, learning to walk.
There's a decade between myself and you just to make you feel old. Yeah, I think that if memory calls me correct, it would be before his dominant Ferrari stretch, I think.
I'm going to say 2001 off the top of my head. I've got a good friend who'd know off the top of his head, but unfortunately he can't be here this evening.
Yeah, no, but is that you've grown up watching motorsport around the old Silverstone, whereas I've only really been introduced into motorsport since 2016, and I'm hooked at all. And my favourite track to go and watch racing, both on in real life and also over videos, is Silverstone, and particularly GTs at Silverstone. That is so good that I can't not love this new circuit for what it is, and the high speed element that it is now. I think on the Formula 1 circuit, it's, I want to say, the highest speed track.
On average speed, it could well be.
On average speed, because it's, I mean, if you're thinking about it, the heavy braking zones you've got going into Brooklands, which is still a high-speed corner in itself, the P2s here will be taking second, possibly third gear. Formula 1 cars and LMP cars will be looking in third and fourth gear. Then after that, the only other two slow corners you've got is the Loop and Vale, which, I mean, if you're taking into account that, the rest of the remaining 5.5 kilometers is just nearly flat-out action, as we look at Pedersen going through one of the oldest and most renowned fastest section of corners in the world, Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel, that flicking from left to right to left, back to right before coming out onto the hangar straight, is, in these prototype cars, he'll be down 2 gears by the time he gets down to Chapel at the slowest point of the S's, which is just incredible and unfathomably fast in sim. But if anybody gets the opportunity to go in real life, go and see it, because your jaw will be on the floor watching cars go through there. And if you get to see it in a multi-class environment, that is all the better. And speaking of multi-class, that's what we have here today, and hopefully we'll be able to see some interesting overtakes and some great stuff through that small section of track.
Yeah, as Finn Norgard Pedersen goes even quicker with a 1:45.625. So we're coming to the end of our LMP2 qualifying now. Just as we follow Theo Schroeder through Maggots, Beckett's. it's a brilliant sequence of corners, and this is actually quite a similar camera angle to what I remember back on the TV, back on the old CRTs before they all went flat screen. I'm just going to play
black and white, wouldn't it?
Not quite. Maybe that's more my dad's age era rather than me. Thanks very much.
No. Yeah, so like you're saying, coming to the end of qualifying, Theo Schroeder is on a flying lap, and the only other driver is Larry Capella, but Theo Schroeder is going to be coming through the Vale chicane for the final time. He's going to have to improve by 8/10 to even challenge Finn Norgard Pedersen for the pole position, and he crosses the line. Is he able to go faster? He's able to go faster, but not fast enough. He improves by just under 0.2 of a second, putting him half second behind Pedersen. But now the only other man left to challenge is Larry Capella. And speaking of, well, there we are. He's decided that the lap wasn't good enough and has put it in a wall to stop that. As there's some
antics going on in the pit lane.
I was gonna say, yeah, an enthusiastic Lamborghini, which looks like Hendrik Lichtenhagen. It is Hendrik Lichtenhagen, I can tell you. Getting excited, trying an interesting tyre warming strategy, but it might have a similar effect of spinning if he tries to go out on that temperature tyres.
Yeah, potentially. So let's have a look at our LMP2 championship standings so far. So as we mentioned earlier, Marcus Solholm is at the top of the charts with 108 points. Followed by Theo Schroeder, only 3 points behind. And this championship uses the Formula 1 system, so there'll be 7 points between a win and second place, 25 points for a win and 18 for second. Finn Norgard Pedersen has only competed in 4 rounds so far, but he's averaging over 20 points, and this is a round 7, so on average points per round competed in. He's doing incredibly well. Let's hope he can continue his charge this evening. Li-Fi Chell, who unfortunately is not making an appearance yet this evening, is on 61 points, but Laurie Capella is here. He's on 45, and then we have Charles Presley with 1 appearance, 16 points. Same with Daniel Thomas, we saw him last week as well, with 13, and then a few drivers who have turned up, but unfortunately haven't finished a race earlier in the championship. Gabriel Solomon, Stanley Deslanes, and Dylan Cooper.
The LMP2 championship is incredibly close with only 3 points separating it at the absolute sharp end of the field. And you never know, today might be the day that Theo Schroeder is able to just edge ahead of Marcus Solholm. With Marcus starting behind by 2 places, this will be his chance to do it. And as well, if the 2 Aquiver drivers get tangled up, that could increase the gap for Pedersen to try and close up the I'm gonna say my maths isn't brilliant. It close up the 25-point deficit to the cars up ahead of him.
Yep.
As we get,
Eric Magnussen is about to start his first flying lap. You saw him weaving the tyres, warming them up. Let's go for an onboard, shall we? So through the club. Nice, easily done there. Listen to that roaring Audi V10. Or is it a Lamborghini? Who knows? Flicks it into the right-hander, that is Abby, and through farm. And these GT3 cars, a lot less downforce than our LMP2 machinery that we saw just out. Gets it nicely tucked in at Village. It all goes for a bit of a spin. And he needs to turn off his traction control, I think. So that is 1 lap down for Eric Manuelsen. He will be back to the pit lane and he'll come out with a fresh set of tyres and give it another go. Let's follow John Derrick.
Let's follow John Derrick where Manuelsen left off, heading down towards Brooklands. Still an incredibly high-speed corner, even the P2's dropping down in the GT, dropping down into second gear. The apex speed there's incredible if you consider how tight the corner really is. Down into first, just try and get that little bit extra turn in, getting on power as early as you can. And running quite wide, you can lose all of that curb there, and as long as you don't touch the gravel, you're not going to get an off track. The same with as he goes through Woodcut there, going as tight as they can before Cops one of the scariest corners on the circuit, in my opinion. Very easy getting off track. It looks like John Derek just about managed to knock two in fourth gear, flat out after you get the car turned in. Before we head into Maggots and Beckett's, briefly bouncing off the rev limiter in fifth before banging down the gears into third and second gear before accelerating as early as he can and running out using all of the available space before he heads down towards the hangar straight and the infamous Stowe corner, which is, after Cops, I'd probably say one of the scariest corners on the circuit. As you turn in, you can't see the exit of the corner because you're coming over this crest, and the only hint you can get is when the curbing starts. You get a little glint of white and he gets that spot on perfect before heading down towards Vale Chicane, breaking down at the 100-meter marker down to first gear, trying not to touch those massive sausage curbs on the apex of the corner before running out wide towards Club Corner and coming across the start finish line to set a 2-minute 0.01, so 2-minute flat there for John Derek in the Rottenberry Racing McLaren. And if John Derek's previous qualifying pace is to go anything off of, and he carries on that manner, he's going to be untouchable. We've seen in the last round, he was at Sebring, he was, I'm going to say, half a second clear of the next car behind him. And who knows, we might see the same here again today.
As Eric Manuelson comes round to start another attempt at the first flying lap. Down into Vale. Let's have a quick look at Hendrik Lichtenhagen in that Lamborghini that may or may not win. Sandy Mitchell and Rob Collard style last time at the end of the 2020 season in British GT. He's got the endurance light pack on the front of his Lamborghini, making sure everybody can see him and he can see everything. A lot more movement for these cars through the corners as he clips the sausage curb of the left hand of a Vale. Making sure that he gets the power down nice and evenly and doesn't run too wide through clubs. And across the line he goes to start his... Sorry, that's complete his first flying lap. So that's 2:02.5. So 2.5 seconds off Derek there. We've seen John Derek have a huge ability to save fuel or even create fuel on his McLaren MP412C. So what do you reckon his tactic might be tonight, Isaac, if he's got that much of a pace advantage in early qualifying?
I think, like I say, John Derek has got an ability to almost magic fuel out of thin air. And so I think all of today he'll have been eating lots of beans and he'll be powering the car from methane throughout this race to try and to get it to the end. It's a difficult track to fuel save on because it's so high speed and there's no real fuel saving opportunities. I don't think it's going to be as big of a play as it has been in previous rounds where he managed to, I'll say famously, most infamously, at Canadian Tire Mosport Park, he managed to go the entire race an hour on 75% of a fuel tank. I don't think he's going to be able to do the same today, but it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen in terms of strategy throughout the GT runners.
Yeah, I mean, if he does have that pace advantage, then he might set himself a little bit of a challenge and see how much fuel he can save and use that championship-winning clutch pedal that he has on the back of his steering wheel. One thing I should probably note right now in qualifying, so we've got Silas Nicolaisen on screen at the moment in his BMW. So the turquoisey green background to his number on screen denotes that he's an AM championship competitor, whereas the pinky blue purple number backing of John Derek and Hendrik Lichtenhagen is denoting them as a pro entry into the pro championship. So these guys will score completely separate points. There is not an overall GT championship and then a separate AM one like we might see in the World Endurance Championship. But no, so these guys are purely racing. They're effectively 3 complete races and unique separate races out there on the track today.
Yeah, and unlike a series, like you're saying, mine, like WEC that run a BOP on the cars, the Pro and Am is defined by I rating, 2.4K cutoff, defining the difference between an AM and a pro driver. If you're over the 2.4K, then you will be classified as a pro driver. As you were saying, they're going back to Selena Colshan, currently our championship leader in the GT3 AM category. He's running the BMW, which recently got added to iRacing at the beginning of the 21 season. So 2021 season 1, which is called the BMW M4 GT3 prototype because it doesn't actually exist yet, and I don't know when it is expected to come out. Maybe Martin will be able to shed some more light on that than what I know, because it's currently will be taking over from the M6, which I'm sure a lot of you would have seen competing in the GT World Challenge Europe, and perhaps last weekend in the Nordschleife Endurance Series for the it's not a Nordschleife Endurance Series race, it was the qualifying for the 24-hour. But yes, so the GT3 BMW M4 got there actually, so many 3s and 4s, doesn't exist in real life, does it iRacing? I don't know how I feel about that. Personally, I'm not a fan. Martin, what's your take on it?
I'm going to first of all correct you and say it does exist in real life. They are testing it. It is not in competition, however.
That's what I meant to say.
Sorry. Sorry, I'm always the more finicky one. Anyway.
It's fine. It makes sense.
Just, trying to inform our viewers. So iRacing obviously has it appears a very good partnership with BMW Motorsport, and they have given everybody on iRacing the ability to drive the car ahead of its competition debut in the real world. So the BOP at the moment on the BMW is, I think, a bit pie in the sky because they don't actually know what its BOP is going to be in the real world. But yeah, that's the way it goes at the moment. I suppose that's the brilliant thing about being simulator, being on a virtual environment, is that you can, within reason, do whatever the hell you like. The interesting thing I think I've seen is that the BMW and the Lamborghini both added very recently to the iRacing service, and traditionally on iRacing, if you buy the new car that comes out, and you can drive it well, you're gonna probably be top 10. You're gonna win. Generally, the BOP, the balance of performance on the new vehicles, is a little bit better, or more favourable, shall we say. But that hasn't happened with these two vehicles, so that's good to see iRacing take that little next step. But not to say that iRacing were the only ones to do that, because in SRO competition, GT World Challenge Europe and America, and whenever a new vehicle did come out in those real-world championships, then, funnily enough, it won its first race, and then they all blamed that they didn't have enough data for the balance of performance calculations, but it always provided a good headline. Maybe I'm a little bit cynical and sceptical, I'm not sure. But no, once the car gets released in the real world and let off its leash, then it'll be interesting to see it competing in those GT3 championships around the world, and we hope to see it on the Nordschleife as well, because let's be honest, anything on the Nordschleife is a good thing.
I gotta agree, anything on the Nordschleife is a good thing, if not the best thing, and it's going to get even better for you GT3 iRacing fans, because I'm sure you've all seen what's coming at the end of this season. It's the Porsche GT3. I'm a Porsche fan. Martin's a Porsche fan.
We're all Porsche fan, shall we say?
Porsche fan. Sorry, for if you want to get real up in it.
If you want to be correct.
If you want to be correct, sorry. Porsche's coming to iRacing. We all want Porsche. I want Porsche. You want Porsche. We're all a Porsche fan. We all want to be Kevin Estre,
or Lawrence Vanthoor, or Patrick Piglow, Fred McAfee. Any one of them. Yeah.
And we're actually going to be able to do it at the end of the season, because it's coming. I'm excited, and I can't wait to see what iRacing are going to do, and hopefully they're going to bop it like they have recently, and it will still be competitive with the other cars, and it's going to be more down to the driver rather than the what car they drive. Is the way that I think I and every other iRacing player would, driver would like to see. But 5 minutes left of qualifying. If we're looking at the standings at the moment, John Derrick is still the fastest car, not improving after his first flying lap of a 2-minute flat. And the next car behind him is a whopping 2 seconds back. Eric Emanuelson, if I'm not mistaken, this is his first time out on track in the Aquiver eSports Championship.
Just have a quick look at the... He had a DNF in round 5, I'm afraid, as shows my records. I think that was Hockenheim, if I remember rightly. I thought I'd seen him elsewhere, and I believe he was in a BMW that round. But I have to say, his choice to go with the Audi is a brave one, because we have seen the mid-engine cars, or the drivers of the mid-engine cars, struggle a bit in the early, in, let's say, the first quarter of each of the races that we've seen so far in the Aquiver Esports Championship. So, good luck to him. Sorry, I'll let you carry on your rundown of the championship, of the standings at the moment.
Don't know where it's actually interesting. You're saying he switched over to the mid-engined Audi, but at Silverstone of all tracks, which at least from my experience, mid-engine is the most lethal, because going through corner complexes like this, it just wants to switch ends on you whenever I drive it. And I know that I suffer from a severe lack of talent in sim racing, but I can't get a hold of it. I think that if you're going to drive Silverstone, you're going to want something with the engine at the front, ideally the BMW or the Mercedes, or you want the exact opposite and you want the engine right the way in the back, like the Porsche will be coming soon. But carrying on the rundown, Hendrik Lichtenhagen is in third of our GT3 cars, second in the pro category. He's set a 2-minute 2.5, and the last of our GT3 runners, Celia Nikolsson for 524 International Racing, with a 2:02.7. So second through to third is separated by just 0.6, but the gap to John Derrick at the lead is a massive 2 seconds. So it'll be interesting to see what happened in this mid-pack, but I dare say that John Derrick has might have won this one before it's even begun.
Yeah, potentially. We don't see the same drag effect that we in GTs that we do in the prototype class, but hoping that Eric Manuelsen or Hendrik Lichtenhagen will be able to, or even Silas Nicolaisen will be able to keep on his toes a little bit. Those guys are pretty close together. It's nice to see that Eric, our GT Am pole position sitter for the moment, is ahead of a pro driver there. Not something you see every day, but doing a fantastic job at the moment in his Audi version of a mid-engine V10.
Do you mean a Lamborghini, or they're the same thing?
A matter of opinion. They share a number of components, shall we say.
Yes, badge not being one of them, so and bodywork. So I'll let you guys decide at home. But two cars that are completely different are the two that we're seeing on screen at the moment. This big, bulky M4 and the flamethrower of a McLaren up ahead. It was that... we were talking about this the other day. That walrus-looking nose, the BMW. It's been controversial with that gaping chasm at the front of it. I've seen one in real life out on the roads, not one of the GT3 spec versions, of course, one of the standard M4s, and mixed opinion on it. I don't really like it, and interestingly enough, the man who designed this from BMW, his name escapes me at the moment, actually says he doesn't like the look of it either. He says it's not supposed to look pretty, but it's supposed to be efficient. Take what you will of it. I think that's interesting that it's come from the man who's designed the car.
Yeah, it depends whether he was more of an engineer than a designer, I feel. If form follows function and it wins races, then you can't argue with it. As Silas Nicolaisen in his Walrus BMW goes into third in the GT grid and ahead of Hendrik Lichtenhagen. So he's closed up to just over a tenth behind Eric Emanuelsen in the Audi mid-engine car. So that'll be a good battle on track, I think. But so we're into the last 10 seconds, and these guys have both crossed the line, and this will therefore be, they crossed the line before the time is up, so therefore this will be their one final roll of the dice. Coming down into Brooklands, we'll see what these guys can pull out the bag now, as the battle is certainly on when they're just over a tenth between them.
It's good to see that the competitors are closing up in the final stages of qualifying. But now it's all down to this man, Emmanuelson, to try and create as big of a gap as he can to Nicholson behind. But I think Nicholson, like we were saying earlier, is one of the drivers that really benefits from race pace compared to qualifying. He's doesn't perform generally very well in qualifying, but when it comes through to the race, his consistency and his ability to keep it clean means that he comes through and generally gets really good results. I think so far in the championship, he's got 4 wins. Feel free to correct me on that. He's got 4 wins in the championship, and that is mostly just down to his consistent, clean pace that he's able to do lap after lap compared to the outright 1-lap pace. And it looks like Emmanuelson, judging from his line, isn't going to improve on this lap. He's taking a... Yeah, it doesn't look like he's pushing flat out. I could be wrong. But if so, then it's down to this man. Is he going to be able to improve by just 1/10 to put him onto the front row of the grid for the GT3 runners? He's coming through Club Corner. Is he going to be able to improve? He crosses the line. And he does not. So that means the best that he's going to start in is 3rd place. In fact, he is going to start in 3rd place. The only car left out on track is John Derrick. I don't know what he's doing there. Maybe he's trying to break the 2-minute barrier. I'll be very, very impressed if he does. But that's another pole position that he can add on to his tally so far this season. We never know, Martin. He be testing out a fuel strategy like he was doing at Mosport.
Yeah, potentially. The graphics are showing us that he was on an outlap there, so maybe just doing a little bit of cold tyre practice there. Often a good strategy at the end of a qualifying run, qualifying session.
So that will round out our open qualifying for round number 7 at Silverstone of the Aquiver eSports Championship. Just 12 seconds to go before we progress through into the race session. We can get you our official results up as the iRacing officials are looking down to see whether any final adjustments need to be made, and I doubt there will be. As we get ready to go through into the grid, and this is something, has Marcus selected grid cars together in class? I guess we'll be able to see in a second, or is he going to be starting from the absolute back of the grid? But here we go. Finn Norgard Pedersen takes another pole position after his late join to the championship on a 1:45.6, followed half a second behind by Theo Schroeder in the Aquiver Motorsports car, the first of 4 Aquiver cars out on track today. Larry Corpella is sat in 3rd, both overall and in our LMP2 grid. So the Finn there getting his best qualifying result of the season so far, if I'm not mistaken. And then starting at the front of the GT3 field, no surprises here for this name, John Derrick is starting in 4th and 1st on the GT3. Eric Emmanuelson is starting 5th of the first of our AM runners, with Celia Nicholson just behind in 6th, and Hendrik Lichtenhagen will be starting in 4th and last of our GT3 runners, with the league organizer and Aquiver owner and championship leader Marcus Solheim starting at the back of the grid.
Yeah, so I think that's a little bit of an error there by Marcus. iRacing does give you the option to grid by class. These cars are separated between GT3 and LMP2 in a class structure within the simulator. So, well, he's going to have an interesting opening lap, I guess.
Well, Marcus saying that he intentionally set it in the YouTube chat, so that he'll be starting from the back of the grid. I wonder how long he's going to get by, or if he's going to be stuck behind our GT3 competitors. Hopefully he'll be able to make it by cleanly without causing any disruption to any of the runners out on track. But I think this race is, especially in the LMP2 field, going to be prepping up to be an absolute cracker of a race as we get ready for the iRacing truck to pull away, to let the drivers get moving to start the formation corners instead of formation laps as they do. And Finn Norgard Pedersen leads the way through Stowe Corner before he starts the race.
Yep, a short run down to round Stowe down the Vale. Guys will be trying to get as much heat into these tyres as possible as we see a bit of a class split, so that further makes Marcus's challenge a little bit harder.
Indeed, it's going to be very difficult for him to try and move forward as Finn Norgard Pedersen comes through club corner. It's him who will be starting the race. When is he going to go? He's holding up the field, and it's green, but he's not got a good jump there, and he's actually under pressure from Larry Capella behind. So 3 wide, running down in towards turn 1. Finn Norgard Pedersen on the outside. Larry Capella running wide, not forcing Pedersen off the track as Pedersen runs wide, and now Capella has dropped down another position behind Theo Schroeder, who's got a very good start after falling back initially. And so as we come through loop corner, it is the same order as it was over the grid, and Norgard Pedersen's already managed to open up a second of a gap over Theo Schroeder in just 4 corners.
So we'll take a look back at the GT start now, as Emmanuelson and Lichtenhagen have come together there, not providing enough space on the outside, and Nicolaison's also gone for a spin as well. So it's all action at the in the GT battle.
Whilst all of that is happening, John Derrick has managed to gap out a 3-second gap over his fellow GT3 compatriots, as we look at Norgard Pedersen getting it very wrong going into Brooklands, running quite wide on exit and losing that second. It's just down to 7/10 now going through Maggots and Beckett's. That will mean that Theo Schroeder will have the slipstream and might be able to make a move going up into Stowe Corner. Let's see what he's going to be able to do. Running through this time by as Marcus Solholm already starts picking off places. He's up into 3rd place, making his way past his fellow Aquiver Motorsports driver of Larry Capella, as Larry looks up the inside but isn't close enough to make the move.
Yeah, an impressive opening lap for Marcus there. As Laurie is trying again on the outside at the Vale. Not exactly a common overtaking place, but nonetheless gave it a go and make sure that Marcus keeps Marcus on his toes.
Marcus making quick work to dispatch of Larry Capella in his hunt to try and go forward and battle these front 2 runners of Theo Schroeder and Norgard Pedersen. And he'll be one to keep an eye on to see how quickly he'll be moving forwards. But he's gained 5 positions off the start. So I was going to say a really good start by him, but it's only really been 1. One position in classes. The GT3 runners aren't really running the same race.
Yeah, they're fighting a different championship, aren't they, fundamentally?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are indeed. And look at my timing screen. Sorry, I said that John Derrick had managed to gap out 3 seconds. That was wrong. 10 seconds is the gap between John Derrick and the car behind. Looking at my timing screens. And compared to last lap, when Schroeder wasn't quite close enough to get near Pedersen, that means that Pedersen's now managed to open that gap back up to a second lead.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I think Derrick has fallen 10 seconds behind Capella and is 4 seconds ahead of Lichtenhagen, you can see there in the background. But yeah, nonetheless, a fantastic opening lap by John Derrick. Should do a little bit of ride on board with John, and we'll see if he is doing an early fuel save or not.
My money is he is. Knowing him, he's been fuel saving from the start of the championship. See where he lifts off here. I imagine he's going to lift off and dip the clutch. You'll hear the revs die out if he is, otherwise he'll be revving it out to the brake markers. And he's not fuel saving for once. Maybe he's deciding that for one race he's going to go for just outright pace and see if he can muscle his way up onto the top step of the podium.
Yeah, very surprising, but nonetheless interesting. As Solholm has set the fastest lap of the race so far. So he's done a 1:46.7. What's that? 3/10 quicker than Finn Norgard Pedersen in our outright lead. So when the gap is 2.5 seconds, he's in a few laps. Well, soon he's going to be in the slipstream, and then even sooner, I think he'll be looking to make a move.
but he has got his Aquiver Motorsports teammate of Theo Schroeder just ahead of him. And like you said, the slipstream will be good for him to close up on the straights, but through the corners, the dirty air, the aero wash will be hampering him as coming through here. He's going to be getting understeer McGee as he's going to be struggling to get the front end of that Delara P217 turned into the high-speed corners.
And we've had reports of an accident for Eric Emanuelson in his Audi R8 coming down to Stowe on lap 2. Chucks it in, and unfortunately I think the mid-engine vehicle has bitten hard there, so he's lost the GT3 AM lead to Silas Nikolaisen there. Maybe his tyres aren't quite up to temperature, but he'll carry on his way, and currently 4 seconds off Nikolaisen at the head of the GT AM field. Yeah, I'm sure he'll be able to pull it back up based on his starting position and qualifying result.
Yeah, I think that's what to keep an eye on, see if he can close that gap up. And by the end of the race, I'm sure that we'll be having a good battle on our hands. And I just noticed that as we see Theo Schroeder running off, I wonder what happened there. Did he touch the sausage curb on the inside? It's a common mistake to make. But that's elevated Marcus Solheim up into first position as wasn't quite able to catch. Looks like he's just run deep there, just turned in at the wrong time, and yeah, has run off the track. Just handing Marcus the second place.
So Marcus is now only 2.5 seconds behind Finn Norgard Pedersen. We see heading down to Copse Corner there, and storming run. Marcus again going quicker that previous lap, another 2/10 off his best, with 46.5, whereas Norgard Pedersen was only able to do a 47 flat. Yeah, this could be on for young and old, as they say in Virgin Australian Supercars, or Repco, sorry, Repco Supercars they are these days.
Disappointing you, Martin, for getting that wrong. But just looking at the timing screens, Marcus set his fastest lap last lap by, but it didn't count as an official lap, which means that he would have got an off-track, or at least one off-track. And Silverstone is a very easy track to accumulate off-tracks on, and with only 12 allowed instant points for a penalty, and we're starting our 5th lap now, that would indicate to me that, and it's just happened again there, so he's already got 2, if not 3 off tracks in 5 laps, which would mean that 4 off tracks in 4 laps, which would mean that he's
pushing very hard.
He's pushing hard, but you might have to watch out for those off tracks, or else he's going to be losing 30 seconds in the pits through a drive-through.
Yeah, I mean, we're just over 7.5 minutes, 8 minutes into an hour-long race, and if he's got 4 off tracks and yet 12's the barrier, then he needs to run until at least 20 minutes. But even then, he'll be a bit tight at the end if he continues at that rate. But at the moment, he'd be running at a rate of at least 2 drive-through, if not 3. So yeah, I think I imagine he's pushing hard to get on the back of Norgard Pedersen, and at that point he'll be hoping for no contact, I guess, and a good battle to the end.
I mean, he is the driver at the end of the day, and I'm sure that he knows better than us commentators, but yeah, I'm surprised that he's adopting that strategy. As we see Pedersen, last time by, he set the official fastest lap of the race of a 46.5. Still 2/10 slower than Marcus behind, although Marcus has been getting off tracks, like we're saying. But that means that the gap, although it was about half a second a lap, Marcus was gaining about half a second a lap on Pedersen. That gap, if we count at the same rate, will be closing, as Pedersen sets a rather slow time there of 47.5, and Marcus is getting nearly a second last time by.
Yeah, I think Pedersen is feeling the warmth of Solheim breathing down his neck there. I mean, they're now both in the same shot. I mean, Solheim is 6.4k, but, that's 6,400 I rating, which is a little bit higher than your average, I'd say. I think the average actually sits between it's about 1700 is actual average of a driver. And top 25% of all road iRacing, circuit races on iRacing are 2,000 and above. So Norgard Pedersen at the head of our field, sitting on 2,500, is still probably within the top 15% of all drivers on iRacing. But no match at the moment for Soholm behind him.
And pace doesn't always directly translate through into iRating. Once you get up into the realms of 6K, I say almost 5.5K and above, you stop seeing the correlation between iRacing and pace. Like if you look at the Porsche eSports Super Cup, for example, you would expect Maximilian Benecke to win every single race because he's got the highest iRating, yet he's not won a race this season. So iRating doesn't always translate over to pace, as once you get that high, it almost becomes irrelevant, and the guys are just as fast as you can be in a sim. But I think it's happening here is Pedersen is a lot faster than his iRating shows, and he's showing it as he is holding up quite well to Marcus.
Yeah, he's doing a decent job as we look at John Derrick at the head of our GT Pro field. So he has set the the fastest time in the GT Pro field, and as we can see at the bottom there, he's averaging probably about a 1.5 seconds advantage over Hendrik Lichtenhagen in his Lamborghini, and stretched that out to an 8.6 second lead at the moment. He's decided to go for it this evening in his Marshmallow Toaster, and I wouldn't be surprised if he could, with a heavy fuel load on board at the moment, whether he could beat that 2-minute barrier by the end of the race.
Knowing John Derrick's pace, I definitely think it's something to keep an eye on. He is just incredibly fast as a driver. He can be just as fast as, I think, us normal iRacers, but whilst fuel saving. So I agree that he should be able to break the 2-minute barrier. But I've just pulled up on screen here. I was talking about last time we saw our GT3s go out onto track in the real world of a British GT. And I'm looking at the pole time done by Barwell Motorsports again, Rob Collard and Sandy Mitchell. And that was a 58.499 and 158.499. And we normally see sim racing going faster than real life racing. But it's interesting to see that it's got an inverse effect this time out at Silverstone.
Yeah, interesting observation that, Isaac, as well, the British GT finale was not held in great conditions. As we're now getting our first passes through the traffic, and Soholm's right on the back of Pedersen there.
Getting up close and personal there at the lead of our LMP2 field. And is Marcus going to look for a move now? He's got a really good run through Aintree Corner, and he's going to be trying it up the inside into Brooklands. Let's see if Pedersen's going to be able to hold it, maybe try and get the over-under as Marcus makes a move up the inside and locks up the Riz and goes around. So Marcus losing time and spinning out there. Is he going to lose possibly even second place? As you look just in the back of shot, that is Theo Schroeder just behind, and that has been a costly mistake there for Solheim, costing him about 5.6 seconds, and it's now put him under pressure from Schroeder behind.
Yeah, as they come across the GT3 BMW, see how that affects this battle. I don't think either of them got a particularly good advantage through there, but he's right on his tail through Maggots, maybe giving a little bit of a love tap there, unsettling the car as they come through. As Solheim's gone very wide, and Theo Schroeder goes through, so this is not a good lap for Solheim. He has all of that. He's undone all of that work that he started out. A spin at Brooklands and then going wide through the last part of Beckett's as well. And that's only going to add to his incident level count as well, isn't it?
It is. I think he's really going to have to start watching out and being careful, because I don't know how many off tracks he's got. We've got no way of seeing as we are, but he's got to be getting up there at this point. I mean, we're 9 laps into the race, which is 15 minutes, and he must be nearly on a drive-through at this point, and he's got to be careful, or else he'll be. I know you can't. Oh, actually, I don't think you. I don't know if you can get disqualified. You can at 12 instant points. Not if you're getting disqualified at this rate. So 24 instant points. Sorry, he gets disqualified.
Good to know. I mean, yeah, that loss of control you would have thought he'd have at Rocklands last time round would give him 2 incident points, and then every off track is 1 on itself. So, oh, as he's done it again, entering in too hot and into the barriers he's gone. Oh dearie me, that's not good for Pedersen. Let's have a little ride on board, see if we can see where it went wrong. Oh, bit of too quick into the corner, overcorrection, and that was that. I think he's sitting there in shock there.
That's 2 mistakes in 2 races for Solheim. He had a similar accident running slightly too wide onto the grass while chasing Schroeder last time at Sebring, and it's happened again. The front end doesn't look as damaged as I thought, but that car is crabbing, and I imagine he's going to have required repairs to come in and try and get that repaired.
Yeah, the left side isn't looking particularly pretty. That's classic iRacing bent carbon that they used to make these cars. The bodywork of these cars is oof, there we go. And he won't be doing his aerodynamics any good at all. And let's do a little quick ride on board, see how. Yeah, there we go. The steering wheel is off to the left hand side, so that's his suspension damage. Unfortunate to see for the man who is our championship leader, or as he's having all sorts of trouble through Stowe, and he heads towards the pit lane, sensibly so. Oh, as it looks like we've had another incident as well. Laurie Capella in the wars at the Vale.
You could just see him in the back of shot as Marcus was entering the pit lane, and I'm going to say he's just lost it by himself. Broke slightly too late, yes, and locked up the rears again. Spinning around, not making contact with anything, and able to get back underway again nice and cleanly. The carriers only lost time there, unlike Marcus, didn't get any damage, but hopefully he will be able to carry on, and hopefully Marcus will be able to do his repairs, as we now have an on-track battle for second place over all in the GT3 field, and that is our Amrun of Selina Kolshan making his way by the pro entry of Hedrick Lichtenhagen.
Yeah, as Lichtenhagen sends it up the inside at Brooklands again to reclaim that spot. These guys aren't battling, as we said earlier in the broadcast, these guys are not battling for championship points between the 2 classes, but they're certainly battling to have fun, it seems, which is fantastic to see. Now, side by side, through out of left field and through Woodcote, down towards the infamous Cops Corner. Who's gonna give up? Neither of them are giving up. Compromising their speed through the corner as a result, giving each other plenty of space, which is fantastic to see. And Nicolaisen gets the spot for now.
I'm sure that's not the last we'll see this battle, and Lichtenhagen will be doing the best that he can to keep on the back end of that BMW to try and get in that massive aerodynamical weight behind the
bus that's
break of a BMW. Yes, exactly. Yeah, the London double-decker bus ahead of him. Although he's lost a heck of a lot of time through Maggots and Beckett's, and he's got understeer, and that might have just put him out of the slipstream. Although it looks like,
Nicolaisen ran incredibly wide at Stowe. He was probably 2 car widths onto the ideal line there. So, well, we're not even 20 minutes into this race, and I didn't expect to see any tyre wear coming to this, but these guys are clearly struggling today.
They are, and Silverstone being a track which is renowned for high tyre wear, you would have seen it in Grand Prix last year, the first of 2 Silverstone Grand Prix where we had 3 tyre blowouts, and iRacing doesn't have tyre blowouts modelled to my knowledge, but yeah, it looks like tyre wear might be an issue for the first time this season.
Yeah, so the track temperature 31 degrees, it's not the hottest that we can see in iRacing, but it's certainly warm enough to get these rear wheel off as Nicolaisen's going for another slide into Brooklands. He's really not enjoying the balance of that car at the moment. Let's see if we can get a shot of his inputs. You see the bright lights of the Endurance light path Lamborghini of Lichtenhagen behind him in that rear view mirror or rear view screen. Turns into Cops very timid on entry. You would have thought that the front engine nature or the front engine build of this car would lead it more to understeer rather than oversteer, but maybe the light rear end that it therefore causes is causing him a bit of issue. Well, he's fighting that through Chapel over the curve, making sure that he gets a good run as he can onto the hangar straight. Sorry, Isaac, carry on.
I was going to say, like you were just saying that, he's really struggling with this oversteer as he manages to get it turned in, actually hitting the apex this time through Stoke Corner, but then again having to correct slightly as he drifts out to that outer corner. And it's weird to see such a, like you were saying, such a big car suffering with so much oversteer, and he's pretty much just not putting it in any steering inputs. He's doing counter locks through Club Corner, but somehow still going faster than Hendrik Lichtenhagen in the Lamborghini just behind him.
Yeah, I'll be surprised if he can keep this up for another 40 minutes. He's doing a fantastic job at the moment. That time round, setting the class fastest lap. He must have known he was on stream and we were riding aboard. But yeah, Lichtenhagen's certainly closed up through Village and the Loop, now through Aintree and onto the Wellington Straight, down towards Brooklands again, where we saw a big slide from him last time round. Yeah, it must be the fact that there's very little weight towards the rear of the car, as Lichtenhagen also having trouble through Brooklands, going quite wide there.
Dropping just out of dropping out of the second gap, but then getting a very good exit, meaning that he was able to close back up within 8/10. So he's still going to have that slipstream going down the hangar straight if he can keep on to that second gap going through Maggots and Beckett's, which is the hardest place to hold a gap. And I'm just looking at the this black, blue, and red livery that Ceylon Nikolshin is running. Is that a team livery or just an iRacing content created one? You might know.
That might be one of the stock BMW ones. I don't think it's quite the one that I've seen the pictures of the vehicle in testing, but it might be a take on a DTM livery, perhaps, with the BMW bank, and then the BMW bank is certainly one of the sponsors in the DTM Championship.
Indeed, it very well could be, as Nikolshin gets a slowdown, I'm going to guess, on the exit of Stoke Corner, and just having to let Hendrik Lichtenhagen by, and after working so hard to make that overtake and then generate that gap up that he did, means that all that hard work's for nothing now, and he's lost that position. He's going to have to do it again as they put another lap on Marcus Solheim, who's well and truly out of contention in this race, and I don't think he's going to be able to contend. Possibly won't even see him back out on track again, as Ceylon Nikolshin tries to make his move up the inside into Village Corner. Can't make it stick, although he's on the inside going through Aintree, and will have the inside load again going into Brooklands, which, like I was saying, is probably going to be the hotspot for overtakes this race, and it is so far. Although Lichtenhagen braking as late as he dares in his Lamborghini, squeezing Nikolshin at the apex, meaning that Nikolshin could have the outside line for Luffield, and that's not where you want to be. Slotting in behind the Lamborghini, and he's not going to get by this time. The next place he's really going to have a chance to make a pass will be down into Stoke Corner. Coming down across the national pit straight, what you would have seen as the old Formula 1 pit straight on the pre-2011 version of the track now, where you will find host to the GT Championships, as Nikolshin tries up the inside going into Maggots Corner. Is he able to stick the move, going side by side through Maggots, Beckett's, and he's able to make it past? That is an incredible overtake there from the Dane going into Maggots on lap 11, and then not even halfway into this 1 hour long race.
Yeah, that was absolutely full of courage, and he sent that a good amount of compliance there from Lichtenhagen. But if that continues this battle, these guys will be having a great time. Let's have another look at that from an aerial view. So Nicolaisen pulls out, goes through the around the outside of Lichtenhagen through Beckett's and through Maggots and into Beckett's, and wow, yeah, I mean Lichtenhagen I think did the sensible thing in pulling out of that one, because that could have got ugly.
Yeah, like you said, sensible of Lichtenhagen to let Nicholson through there, and if Nicholson can keep it clean, I dare say that's the last that he will be seeing of Lichtenhagen, as it does seem like he's got that outright pace, not to be able to pull away from the German one behind, as we see Larry Capella running off the track there, running just slightly wide in the exit of Luffield. Easy to do. He would have got on and off track for that, so that will count towards his tally of 12, as Lichtenhagen again is all over the back end of Ceylon Nicholson in the BMW. Going back down again along the national pit straight through the Woodcock corner, which is, if any of you, like I was saying earlier, get to go to see racing in real life at Silverstone, go and watch British Superbikes there, or a MotoGP event, anything on a motorbike through that corner. It's ridiculous, the riders going through that, as they do in motorbikes and in cars, because the rear axle, the rear end of it, doesn't have any steering, so it actually just slides through the corners, and that being such a high-end corner, seeing motorcycle riders nearly or fully sideways going through that at well over 100 miles an hour is ridiculous, as well as seeing it in real life in these GT3 cars as well. Although Lichtenhagen not close enough now to make a move going down into Stone Corner, so he's going to have to wait behind and try and pick the next best opportunity to attack. Although, let's have a look at these lap times when they cross the line, as Lichtenhagen's getting super close to the back end of that BMW.
Yeah, we can see a little bit of scuffing on the front left of Lichtenhagen's Lamborghini. A, that'll be expensive, but B, that means he's had contact with something, and it might well be the back of Nicolaisen's car that we're riding on board with.
They have been following so close that I'd be surprised if there isn't damage between these two. As again being lapped by a second time, that'll be by Theo Schroeder, trying to make his way past his battling duo, riding on board with Schroeder. Which way is he going to go? To the left, trying not to get involved in this duo's battle. Looking back along the shark fin of this Dallara LMP2 car. Lichtenhagen not close enough as of right now. It's going to be a real good sense of speed, as we can see Nicholson getting a little bit of a slide on there, as he left the inside open to Lichtenhagen. I don't think he has, but he's going to have a good run here down onto the national pit straight. And it doesn't look like Lichtenhagen again is going to be close enough to make an overtake.
Unfortunately, it seems that we won't be seeing Marcus Solholm again. He's commented in the YouTube chat that his car is absolutely toast. So that's unfortunate to see after a pretty big hit there, and hefty repairs required for his Dallara. Hopefully he'll be able to come out and finish off the rest of the race. I'm not entirely sure what the classification rule is for the championship, as Norgard Pedersen puts another lap on him, but I think if he manages to cross the finish line, then he will at least score 4th place points in class, which could be quite valuable come the end of the championship, considering we're on round 7 and only 2 more rounds left to go after this.
He's going to be trying to score all the points that he can in the rounds going forwards. If he's unable to score points here, which at the moment looks like he isn't going to be able to. I'll have to double check on what the threshold is for the minimum requirement, but there's a possibility that at this point he might already be not have completed enough laps in order to be classified as a finisher, and therefore wouldn't score any points at all towards the championship. as we see the first of our pit stops as Larry Capella comes in. Doesn't look like there's damage to that Dallara, so this will be a scheduled pit stop, and trying to go for the undercut on his competitors.
Yeah, it's a bit earlier than we thought we'd see from our LMP2 field. We usually see them maybe 35, 36 minutes before pit stop, but we saw Life Weichel do this at Hockenheim when he was in the lead, and that unfortunately didn't work out for him because he had the IMSA iRacing series set up on, which has less fuel, and he forgot to adjust it for the longer race and the larger fuel tank that he's allowed in the Aquiver eSports Championship. But a relatively quick stop there of 20.4 seconds, so that will be the number to watch out for compared to the rest of the competitors.
Yeah, definitely just a scheduled pit stop then, so hopefully he'll be able to make his way forward. And hopefully that'll benefit him as he was had a fairly significant gap. I think it was roughly 15 seconds to the next car ahead of him on track, which would be this man, Theo Schroeder. So hopefully he'll be able to gain some, if not most of that back, as we see Hendrik Lichtenhagen spinning and going into the inside wall. That infamous mid-engine oversteer that I was talking about earlier in qualifying, kicking in there for the Danish driver, meaning that, for the German driver, meaning that he lost the rear end, unfortunately. Putting him in the wall. Hopefully he's not received too much damage from that.
Yeah, it's a pretty hefty hit, like we saw with Sahlholm at the start of the race at Brooklands Corner, and then after Lichtenhagen's problem, sounds like on downshift it's decided to spin on him at Stowe, and I think we expect him to come into, yes, I think he is in the pit lane now, so yeah, there he is sitting in pit lane doing some required repairs. He'll get his splash of fuel as well, and hopefully we'll see him out for the rest of the race.
So that's 2 out of the 4 Aquiver cars in the pit lane now. As Capella's coming in again. Did he speed in the pits? That's the only reason I can think of.
Oh, sorry.
I can see here, is it you can correct me on this, I think. Is it a 20-second hold if you speed the pit lane?
I thought it was just a drive-through, to be honest.
We'll see here if he stops or not.
You can hear him going up and down the gears, trying to pull the pit lane speed limiter and go a little bit quicker. But yeah, you're right. Good spot there, Isaac. It is just a drive-through, and that will most likely be due to speeding in the pit lane on his previous stop.
Yeah, well, it's a possibility that it could be from off tracks as well. It'll be better for his sake if it is the speeding of the pit lane, because otherwise that would only put him to 6 instant points before he gets his second drive through if it is an instant points, but I suspect that it is speeding in the pit lane. But interesting to see that his undercut strategy now unfortunately will not work. So we see the first of our scheduled GT3 competitors coming to the pits. The second place of our AM runners, Erik Emanuelsson, is in the pit lane now to try and fuel up that car and to get the undercut like Capella was trying to, but hopefully he won't speed in the pits.
Yeah, another early pit stop for GT3 competitors, as Lichtenhagen's still there, unfortunately. We usually see these cars with a 75% fuel allowance run about 45 minutes, so we would have expected another 10 to 12 minutes there, but clearly deciding that do we stop now and then he'll head back out and chase down Nicolaisen.
Getting confirmation now that neither Marcus Sahlholm or Hendrik Lichtenhagen will go back out on track to finish this race. So that's down to 6 competitors out on track at the moment. Unfortunate to see those 2 retirements after Lichtenhagen was having such a good race, but or such a good battle. Sorry, but if speaking about good races, John Derrick, he's just too good.
He is a bit, isn't he? Having a great job having great fun out there in his Rottenberry Racing McLaren.
Yeah, it's a nice honeycomb livery on that car. It's I think it's honeycomb because he's got I think a raspberry, a strawberry with a golden strawberry with a worm sticking out of it with honeycomb.
And therefore it's a rotten berry. Rotten
I've
berry
just
racing?
worked that out. I've just worked that out. Thank you very much, Mark.
Not a problem. Always here to help.
I appreciate that. Yeah, that livery makes a heck of a lot more sense now as Trendek just getting on the grass going down the straight there. Easy to lose concentration as he gets a little kick of oversteer, as you do in those mid-engine cars. Yeah, which we saw ending Hagen's race, unfortunately, earlier on. Is that, I want to say 5? I'm miles on. I don't even open my mouth. It's a V8. I don't know how big the engine is.
3.8 litres.
I want to say 5 litres. It is.
It's a 3.8 litre V6 twin turbo, I believe. I thought all of the McLaren cars, road cars, are these days.
Yes, sorry, that's great. Yeah, 3.8 litre twin turbocharged V8 in the 12C. Which is, this is another thing which you probably know more about than myself. McLaren make their own engines, I'm going to say, for their road cars. I know they don't in Formula 1, but their road cars, the engines are produced by themselves.
I'm not sure on the company that makes them, but it is a unique design to McLaren road cars, I believe. So, like, say someone like Aston Martin also buys... It buys V8s from AMG for their Vantage car, but say their DB11 and their DBS Superleggera, they have the rights to the V12. It is their own design, but I'm not sure they actually physically make it on site where they assemble the cars together, as it were. But actually, to be fair to McLaren, you could be correct there. They certainly own the company that makes the chassis. McLaren own the carbon tub chassis manufacturer. They initially started out life buying them from them in Yorkshire, England, Northern England. But now these days they decided to invest in actually owning that company and therefore reaping the rewards of that brings with rather than paying the extra price or the overheads on top for not owning that company, making sure that someone else makes profit.
It's like I say, it's interesting seeing how McLaren has evolved over the last decade. As we see Celia Nicholson coming in for his pit stops, and our leader Finn Norgard Pedersen is also in the pit lane, making their scheduled pit stops. Unless they speed in the pits, I'd be surprised to see anything change because the competition, I don't think, are close enough to be able to make any undercuts or overcuts so far. And Theo Schroeder, it's designed to go 1 lap longer than Norgard Pedersen. But I shouldn't expect that to shuffle up the order. But like I was saying, it's interesting to see how McLaren has evolved so much in the last decade. Previously, before that, the only 2 cars that they had released were the McLaren F1, the middle, the center-seated hypercar, you might say, from the mid-1990s, and then the 12C, which was the first of their modern supercars. And since then, they have been a whole host of super and hypercars and have really brought their name out onto the supercar scene, which wasn't really there before. But it's good to see a English manufacturer now making their place known on the supercar market scene.
Yeah, I think McLaren are widely held to be one of the best chassis manufacturers as a result of using that carbon tub, and therefore able to have some of the best driving dynamics as a result of that. Because stiffness is everything in race car and road car manufacturing. On if you want performance out of it, as Theo Schroeder now comes into the pits. Oh, there's a big lock up let's hope that he doesn't suffer the same fate as Lauri Capella did, and is able to, and was able to hit the pit lane speed limit by the time those cones arrived. It's going to be disastrous for him. Otherwise, I think he'd potentially fall back behind Capella if he did speed into the pits.
As speaking of Capella, he's back into the pit lane again. This can't be scheduled, and if the other penalty was for speeding in the pit lane, this must be for exceeding the track limit warnings or off tracks. As he's now serving, what I'm guessing is his second penalty so far this race. Yes, he is. And as he exits the pit lane there, that's going to drop him to... That's a lap off the lead, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's lap off of the lead, and not what the Finn would have wanted from this race today. No,
but with Solholm out, he'll be able to pick up decent points for third place. Third place points are 16 points. So actually, sorry, a slightly different system to the Formula 1 World Championship. So you get 25 for a win, as we know and love, as it were, and then it will be 20 points for second place, 16 for third, and down on from, I think, 13 for fourth. So Solholm won't get any points today, but Schroeder and Capella will if they carry on as they are. And this could be very good for Schroeder's championship standings. His chase for the race for the cup. So he's only 3 points behind Solholm coming into the coming into this round. But if he scores 20, then that'll put him 17 ahead, and he'll only need to finish each of the following rounds to become champion.
So that's some stakes on the line there for the LMP2 category, whereas in the GT3 races, the Pro Championship has already been won by John Derrick. As we're on round 7, he's won 6 races so far. So no surprises there that he's taken the championship already. And then the car just ahead of what we're looking at right now, Celia Nikolshin is leading the GT3 AM Championship. And I don't know the mass of top of my head at the moment, but if he wins this, it'll put him in very good opportunity to go forward and win the championship, as Lauri Capella is seen getting out of the way of his Aquiver Motorsports teammate in his Dallara. And I'm going to go back to what you were saying earlier about the stiff chassis Dallaras and how beneficial it is. A manufacturer that is looking at road cars, or is starting to produce prototypes for road cars, is Dallara, and with their full carbon chassis monocoque, it's quite good to see them venturing from the racing world out into onto the road as well.
Yeah, I love the feature that Chris Harris did with that. Was it the Dallara SP01? I think it was. A little yellow thing. That's all I remember. Last year on BBC's Top Gear, looked absolutely great, fun to drive, and I've got all respect for Chris Harris and his journalism ability, along with his. He's not a bad peddler either. He's certainly able to push the cars further than previous hosts of Top Gear, shall we say. So no, certainly an opinion to be respected. But yes, I think the price tag was near 400,000 euros, if I remember rightly, and that's a little bit much to be entering that sort of market, I feel. But nonetheless, it's good for them to dip their toe in the market, and I only wish them well, because they have Dallara have an absolutely fantastic history of motor racing. If you didn't know, they produce all of the chassis for the IndyCar series over in America. The Dallara, LMP2 car that we see on screen at the moment for the World Endurance Championship and European Le Mans Series, etc. yeah, no, brilliant car company with a fantastic history.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you were saying, Dallara producing the chassis for IndyCar, and I'm sure that we're coming up to the one oval event of the year that attracts road races as well. I know that it's something that all of the guys at Sapphire Supersport, the team that myself and Martin compete in, gets all the road races exciting is the Indy 500, and that's coming up over the next 2 weeks in iRacing. This weekend is the fixed race, official race, and the weekend after that will be the open race. You can, if you don't have setups, you can find setups online via certain setup providers. Also on the forums as well, there's some people which do provide setups very kindly. But Martin, I don't do much IndyCar oval unless it's the Indy 500, and I go a bit mad. Whenever that comes around, I'm excited.
And fair enough too. It is one of the greatest spectacles in motor racing. There is a very, very good reason why it is part of the synonymous Triple Crown of motor racing. You know, along with winning Le Mans 24 Hours and the Monaco Grand Prix in Formula One. I mean, that, yeah. I don't know what else to say on there, because if you win one of those, then you're doing incredibly well. If you win all three, as was it Graham Hill or Phil Hill? Someone's going to shoot me now. But as Juan Pablo Montoya and Fernando Alonso are currently best placed to be the next people to do it, although they haven't. I don't think either of them have got rides at Indy this year. So yeah, if anyone's going to knock that off the top of the list, off their bucket list, then it's going to have to wait another year. But no, I mean 200 laps around a genuinely four-cornered oval with qualifying speeds of 235 miles an hour, if not more, on a four-lap average, and that is a truly unique way to go qualifying, to measure your laps in speed rather than in time, and then to do it over a four-lap average is unique, and just adds to the IndyCar, the Indianapolis 500 spectacle, as John Derrick has now made his one and only pit stop. Managed to last 47 minutes this time. Not a bad effort, but not as good as we've seen previously. Yeah, I mean, sorry, going back to the Indy 500, it is one of the biggest sporting spectacles in the world. As an annual event, I think you can get, I think the capacity of Indianapolis is about 250,000, if not 200,000. And that's just on site in those huge grandstands. So that is absolutely insane around a 2.5 mile oval. And then I don't know what the viewership online is like, but it's got to be in the hundreds of millions, much like Le Mans and Formula One, to that man.
It is it's a sight to be beholden, and I've got the numbers here for you for the viewership. 3.7 million viewers just via TV.
Yeah.
So that'll be via your NBC Sport.
So that's in the States, is it then?
That's just in the States. 3.73 million views. That is an unfathomable amount. That is half the population of London. For those who want context, in the UK, watching a race at the same time, which
and if I remember
insane.
rightly, that's about 1% of the population of America. So every 100 people you'll meet, one of them will watch the Indy 500 live. Never mind follow it through other media forms, during or after.
It's a staple of motorsport in America. You've got the Daytona 500, which is a race which has got a lot of heritage, and it's where the grassroots of racing in America started from. NASCAR, and it is the pinnacle of NASCAR with the Daytona 500. But Indianapolis is where American motorsport went international, where you see the series such as Formula One. It was part of the Formula One World Championship, and that there's just, it showed America, like how American motorsport is now so worldwide recognized, which I think is why it's got such high viewership. So Larry Capella is in for the 4th time, I want to say.
This is his 3rd time, actually. He's gone up on the jacks this time, so he's changing tyres, which we wouldn't have expected to see. Maybe he's cooked them. I've just found a recent excursion he's had on the race. So he's gone all 4 wheels off there. Managed to come back just fine. So not sure what that was all about. Maybe he's trying to cool them down as per recent Porsche eSports championship regulations have changed. He's down off the air jacked at the moment, and maybe serving some repairs for some reason, or just filling it up with fuel again. But a bit of an error there to short fuel before when he came in at about halfway through the race.
Yeah, it's interesting strategy. I think, unfortunately for the Finn, it is the end of his not the end of his race, but he's not going to be able to get a competitive result. I do feel, although I say competitive result, he's going to get 3rd. All he needs to do is cross the line and finish. But yeah, best of luck to him doing so. But yeah, it's a shame to see that he will not be able to challenge the cars up ahead of him on track.
As we take a quick look back at John Derrick, so we did wonder if he would get under the 2-minute barrier, or smash through the 2-minute barrier with his marshmallow toaster out the back. Currently sitting at 2:68, and come on, John, you can do it. You know you can do it. You almost did it in qualifying. 8.25 minutes left. He'll be trying his fuel-saving socks off, I reckon.
John Derrick is a fuel-saving mastermind when it comes to him and his clutch pedal. Today it hasn't been so much of so prevalent as it has been in previous races. As today he has been able to go full pace with that 2-second lap difference that he's got over the other competitors. Means that at this point he's already got a 1-minute and 17-second gap to the car behind, and from the start it just seemed like he was unchallenged. Yeah, it's shame to see that no one else has been able to get close to him, but also nice to see him showing outright pace compared to his normal strategical speed.
Yeah, certainly something different from him today. Just going to pick up on something you said earlier about the Indy 500, which gets all of the road racers interested. I think the flip side of that, and again in the States, is the Daytona 24 Hours. So you get a load of oval racers who are like, yeah, Daytona, let's go. And then, I'll be honest, they realise it's got a couple of right-hand corners as well, which makes it a little bit more difficult. But it is traditionally, well, in the real world especially, an event, should I say, which, yeah, Jimmy Johnson's trying out, was in the Ali Cadillac this year. And the 01, was it? I'm trying to think. Yeah, and the 01 Ali Cadillac. Was he 42? I'm going to get murdered by some NASCAR lover here. I'll just shut up and carry on. Isaac signaling to me it is the 01. Okay, I did get it right.
Yeah, it is the 01 he was racing. I'm gonna. I might get this wrong. Kamui Kobayashi was one of his teammates.
Plausible, I'm going to say. Yeah.
Okay. I'm not going to even attempt the third because I will get this horrifically wrong. I'm going to say. No.
I'm struggling to remember off the top of my head. I've watched so much motor racing since January.
You fill this in, I'm going to find out who that is, because that's going to bug me now until I find out.
I'm going to say that there were probably, he had 3 other teammates with him. Daytona is traditionally done with a 4-man crew, or 4-person crew, should we say, these days. Mike Conway is often one that does it. Scott Dixon is somebody that comes across from IndyCar to do it as well for Chip Ganassi Racing. And Isaac reckons he's got the answer, thanks to the good old Googles.
Yeah. Wikipedia is our friend, and we're wrong. Let's start off with. He was in the 48.
Oh, it's the 40. I knew it.
He was in the
42. That's Bush or someone, isn't it? I'm probably
yes,
there we go, murdered again.
I don't know. Yes, although so Jimmy Johnson piloted that car with his teammates being Kamui Kobayashi, we've seen racing in the World Endurance Series with Toyota, and then his 2 other teammates, Simon Pagenaud and Mike Rockenfeller, in the Cadillac DPI. Yeah,
very good.
And what I think is incredible.
Cool.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. What I think is incredible. 24 hours of racing, 807 laps.
That must be enough to make you go dizzy. Around anywhere.
I know, yeah.
Even if with left and right hand corners, that must be enough to make you go dizzy.
Especially at Daytona, of all tracks. Konica Moltona Acura, the number 10 car, won the race. 4 seconds back, you had Jimmy Johnson's car, and then a further 2 seconds back from that. So that's 6 seconds off the lead. After 807 laps, you've got the 55 car of Mazda Motorsports. How do you race that closely and have results that close after 24 hours of race? It, to me, doesn't make sense. I can't fathom how they can race.
If I remember
so
rightly, there were a couple of late race cautions which packed them up. But that 55 car with Harry Tinknell aboard, that was something stupid like 8 laps down at one point because it hit early trouble. And they did an absolutely incredible job. Was it 3rd that you said they came back to?
Yes, managed to come back to 3rd, and
8 laps down from anywhere. I mean, okay, the caution system in America does help. You know, if you're that when they do the class split and you're always behind your class leader, so therefore you can gain a lap back with strategy. But nonetheless, with I think Lena Gade was the race engineer for them that race, working with Multimatic Mazda Motorsports, who was also in Lena was the first female race engineer to win Le Mans, and for Audi nonetheless, you know, can't exactly scoff at her achievement, but B, she's been identified by one of the big dogs in international motor racing and given the opportunity, which is fantastic to see. I knew you wanted to jump in there, Isaac, and I lost the rest of my train of thought. Carry on. Anyway, so come back. Yeah, that's it. Sorry. Come back from 8 laps down to finish on the lead lap, but B on the last step of the podium. That's got to feel like very close to a win at that point. If you're that team, you're going through the highs and or the lows and then the high.
Exactly, and I was talking about how close it was, and I just remembered now looking at the timings. The number 01 Cadillac Chip Ganassi racing car. That's the car Kevin Magnussen raced in a lot of the favourites. There's people who didn't really watch the endurance race were leading with 3 laps to go.
Yep.
They got a puncture, meaning that they dropped off to 5th place and finished 1 minute and 10 seconds behind the leaders. But I mean, so I say 3 laps from the end. You got 4 cars in 6 seconds. I mean, I think it's just really doff your hat to, like you're saying, there was cautions involved in that, but the ACO and IMSA have done such a good job at BOPing and making the DPI class so competitive that hopefully with their input as well going forwards into the new LMH and LMDH, that'll be able to transfer over and we'll be able to see some really close racing, not only at Daytona, but also going forward at Le Mans. I know I'd love it, and I'm sure everyone else would, if at the end of the 24 hours of Le Mans, the gap between the top 10 was less than 10 seconds, which hopefully with the IMSA's help, we might see the WC doing.
Yeah, that would be absolutely incredible. I can't remember about recent history. I'm going to say the last 10 or 12 years. What the closest finish has been, but I remember growing up in my parents' house, and my dad had a picture of the closest finish at Le Mans at that time, and that was I'm going to say it was a 908 Langheck chasing down a GT40 in 1969, and they finished 400 yards apart.
How do you race for 24 hours with all the variables that real life throws at you? In sim racing is hard enough, but when you go into the real world where you've got problems such as mechanical failures and fatigue more than anything else, how do you finish that closely? It's just truly incredible to see drivers be able to drive over such a long distance and being able to drive so closely within one another's parameters. Unfortunately, we're not seeing that here today, at least unfortunately for the other competitors, because it's been one-sided both in the LMP2 and the GTE categories today, with Finn Norgard Pedersen starting in pole position and John Derek doing the same and leading lights to flag. And with half a lap left to go for Norgard Pedersen before he goes and takes his 4th win of the series, he's got to be proud of that result. His 3rd win of the series. He's got to be.
His 3rd win. So he will gain 5 points over Theo Schroeder, who's currently sat in 2nd. Theo will go to the top of the charts, and 25 points will put him only 2 points behind Marcus Solholm, who won't get any points today. So therefore, you'd say odds on with 2 rounds left that Theo Schroeder's going to win the championship, and then it's on for 2nd place as Norgard Pedersen comes round club corner and across the line, finishing the hour-long race in 1st position, flashing his headlights. He'll be very pleased with himself there. Certainly a battle of survival today. So our new championship leader is coming through the final Vale chicane and onto club corner, comes round club corner and into the championship lead. Very well done there. He's finishing side by side with Laurie Capella. Good to see him finish after troubles early on.
Very well driven by Schroeder to be able to come through, securing 2nd place. Like you said, that's going to elevate him to the top of the standings, which is good to see that we're seeing all these changes in the standings happening so soon. As we now look at Selina Nikolsson, they will be the winner of our AM category as well. This will elevate him closer to that AM championship win. I can't tell you what the gap will be after the points.
I think he's won it.
I think he's won it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Jamie Daniels is sitting in 2nd, but he hasn't turned up. But 25 points to Nikolaisen will put him over 50 points ahead of Jamie Daniels. So even if Daniels turns up to the final 2 rounds and wins them, and yet Nikolaisen doesn't, I think Nikolaisen's champion-elect in AM, as they say.
So there we are. We've had championships decided in both GT3 AM and GT3 Pro. And here's our GT3 Pro champion winning his 7th consecutive race. John Derek coming across the line to take his 7th win in the Aquiver eSports championship. So very well driven by himself to come through and finish the way that he did. So congratulations to him. I'll see if we can get a couple of interviews going at the moment and do so. I'm going to welcome into the commentary box the man that started on outright pole, led every lap, and managed to win the race. Finn, congratulations on your win. How did the race go for you?
Yeah, it was I think the perfect result for me, that race, because I saw Marcus was doing his last to first thing, I think, and then I was just leading there, and then I saw him getting closer, and then eventually I didn't really fight him that much. But right after he passed me, I mind punted him, or he spun, and then I think later on he also had some issues. So from then on, it was just smooth sailing.
Said smooth sailing from yourself. It was like a near perfect run. Like you said, you described it as the perfect result for you, and it was a near perfect run. That's put you, we were just discussing, 2 points behind Marcus in third in the championship, and but that'll put you 27 behind Theo Schroeder. Theo might be a little bit out of reach. You'll have to hope that Theo doesn't score points in the final 2 races. But do you reckon you can get Marcus in these last 2 races at Road Atlanta and Daytona?
Yeah, I know he's really, really fast on Daytona, and I guess also Road Atlanta. But if I just try driving with no mistakes and that on, then maybe he'll do some mistakes, and maybe I'll be able to beat him then.
I have full faith that you that you will be able to beat him, as you've been driving really well since you've joined the championship, and I'll be interested. Any questions from yourself, Martin, for Finn?
Yeah. So there's the straight. I can just call it the new section down the Wellington Straight towards Brooklands Corner, back towards the old start-finish straight. We saw quite a few cars losing it through there. Did you have any troubles today?
Not really. There was sometimes where it was like I could feel it was going like a bit, but then I just turned it down a little bit to just keep it safe there. But I could feel it a bit going there.
Very well handled, and you certainly did a fantastic job. And yeah, no scratches on the car at the end of the race. No, brilliant.
Yeah,
job.
Clean car.
Yeah, it can't be said for most of our competitors this evening, unfortunately. But you enjoyed Silverstone? Did you think the car suits it?
Yeah, it really suits it. I love going through Magnussen Beckett's in this car. It's just throwing it in there, and it just sticks when you just turn. It's absolutely insane, the downforce on this thing. But yeah, really nice combo, and really enjoyed it.
Fantastic. And out of the final 2 tracks that we're going to go to, Road Atlanta and Daytona, which one are you looking forward to the most?
I think Road Atlanta. It's one of my favorite tracks, and the first track that I really learned well for my first Petit Le Mans. But yeah, at Daytona, I have driven there on the 24, but I'm not that good on the low downforce sets. So yeah, let's see how that goes.
Fantastic. Yeah, the braking is quite tricky on those with the low downforce setup, isn't it? So that will certainly be one to watch out for, and make sure yourself and the rest of the LMP2 feel get a little bit of practice in.
Yeah.
Good luck for those.
Thank you.
So that was Finn Norgard Pedersen, our winner of the race outright in LMP2. So congratulations to him. And so now we're going to pull into the commentary box for the 7th time this year for this championship, for the 7th win. John, that's 7 out of 7 today. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks very much, guys. Thought I'd to turn down the opportunity of pushing around Silverstone is not one you take lightly. So it was good fun to throw the car around for an hour.
Yeah, we noticed in the commentary box that you weren't taking on your normal fuel strategy today. You were just pushing all out from what you can see. And we're a little bit disappointed that you only managed to do 47 minutes on the tank when the race is an hour long, let's be honest with you.
I know, sorry, I didn't get much value for money today,
no, it didn't. But so were you today just pushing as fast as you can to see what you could do, or was there a little bit of fuel saving that we just missed?
No, there's no fuel saving. I had to save like a 10th or 2 just to get the extra lap out before the pit stop, but that was just I did on the in lap basically. So yeah, I wanted to get under the 2-minute barrier, but I just every lap it was either something wrong or it was an all right lap, and then I'd just muck it up. I think in quali I got a bit annoyed was trying to get under 2 minutes in quali, but race pace, I think like I was pretty happy with.
Fair enough. Yeah, we were willing you on, and we thought you might be trying to get underneath the 2-minute barrier. Where were you? Yeah, we were certainly willing you on for that. Where were you struggling the most? Inconsistencies, or just sliding a little bit too much in places, or why do you think you didn't manage to crack it?
Yeah, I think it was a little bit slippy. I think the McLaren here is a little bit, twitchy, especially when you go through maggots and Beckett's. You just got to throw your car around a bit, and the Macca doesn't really like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was debating at the end, just taking tyres at the end and going for it, but I thought that could end catastrophically badly if I, just binned it in a wall or something. But yeah, I think probably like the final sector or so, I was losing quite a bit of time. So yeah, but it's fine. I was pretty happy with the pace. Yeah, it was good fun to just drive around for a bit. So it's nice. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic job done. I guess the question that we ask you most races now is: do you reckon you can continue this winning streak?
Touch wood. Hopefully, yeah. 2 races to go now. I think next week, I don't know which way around it, but Road Atlanta should be pretty fun, and Daytona as well. And I think Daytona, maybe I could pull out the fuel strap, but I'm not too sure about that. I'll have to do a bit of I have to try and work out if I can do that just to make you happy for one last time.
But you said it now. You're going to have to do it. You can't.
No back. It's on live TV. It's recorded.
Yes, so congratulations on your win today, and hopefully you're able to carry this through and make it 9 out of 9. But congratulations on your win today.
Thanks very much, guys. Cheers for the broadcast as well.
Thank you very much, John. Thank you.
Cheers.
So that was John Derrick, our 7-time winner out of 7 races. I keep on saying it, but it's a good achievement to have. So incredibly well driven by him, as well as the man that we're about to pull into the commentary box. Silas, congratulations on yet another win here at Silverstone, and we've managed to work out now that congratulations, you've won the GT3 AM Championship. So congratulations.
Thank you.
You saw that you didn't. Well, it was a close battle in qualifying. You were trading lap times, and then in the race you had a very intense battle with Hendrik Lichtenhagen. What was that like from your point of view?
I thought he was a lot faster than me, so I was a bit surprised that I qualified close to the others, and then was able to have a battle with him after the start where they pulled away from me.
That looked like cracking stuff and highly entertaining from our point of view. How was the BMW today? It looked quite twitchy. We rode a lap on board with you about 20 minutes in, and seemed like you were struggling to get the power down out of the corners.
It was very twitchy. It didn't. Yeah, it was a bit of a boat on this track, and it doesn't help that I didn't really like the track. Wasn't looking forward to it. So yeah, it didn't handle very well.
And do you know if that's down to tyre wear, or is it just the setup of the track? And we were saying this might be the only time when tyre wear might become a problem.
Yeah, I did actually notice a bit of tyre wear. So the tires weren't as good in the end as they were in the start. So and it's the only track I have noticed, as you say. So yeah.
Oh well, with the 2 rat tracks remaining, Road Atlanta and Daytona, the tyre wear shouldn't be as bad. But congratulations, Silas, on your win today, and also your win in the GT3 AM Championship. So congratulations, and we'll let you get away to celebrate. I don't know if you've got any champagne ready, but you might want to prep some after your win.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Celia Nicholson after managing to win the AM Championship. And now, speaking of championships, brought into the commentary box, Theo Schroeder, congratulations on your 2nd place today. We've managed to work out you're now leading the championship by 23 points. So yeah, and with 2 races to go, you're in as good a place as any to maybe try and take the win.
Yeah, I hope so.
So coming through into these final 2 races of Road Atlanta and Daytona, they're a difficult track, especially Road Atlanta in the LMP2 car. Have you driven there a lot? Are you confident going forward into these that you'll be able to hold off Marcus and perhaps try and win the championship?
I did quite a lot in the last IMSA week, and I'm quite confident that I can keep up with these guys, at least keep the gap small enough to win the championship. And Daytona is pretty much the same. I'm quite confident there as well. So I think I have a quite good shot at the championship.
Oh, fantastic stuff. And Road Atlanta and Daytona, I'm assuming you've driven quite a lot, considering the iRacing Petit Le Mans event at the end of the year, and then Daytona's at the start. You feeling confident for those then?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't driven the Daytona Petit Le Mans anywhere before, but I'm going to plan on doing Petit Le Mans in the end of the year and Daytona in the future. But in every week they were available, I did them. So I did enough laps to be confident there.
Very good. And not he didn't. Sorry, Finn Norgard Pedersen noted that the low downforce setup that you'll end up having to use at Daytona is quite hard on the brakes. How have you got on with that in the past? You had a lot of experience with it?
Yeah, brakes always been tricky there, but in the last week we've been there, we tried a few different setups, and we think we found a good solution for that problem, which is still quite fast on the straights and the corners.
Oh, fantastic! And you share that setup between all of the Aquiver Motorsports drivers, or are you going to keep it to yourself and make sure you stamp your mark on this championship?
No, most of the time we do the setups together, because I personally don't have a lot of knowledge about doing setups and stuff. So I'm pretty much relying on the others.
Oh, fantastic stuff. So, yeah, we'll see you next week at Road Atlantic. Congratulations on leading the championship.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was Theo Schroeder for Aquiver Motorsports. One of 4 drives to compete today, but only one of 2 to finish, which is a shame to see. And with 2 rounds left, if anybody's watching and wants to get involved in these final 2 rounds at Road Atlanta and Daytona, don't hesitate to try and get involved. You can join the Aquiver eSports Championship Discord via the description below. And there'll be more information there on how to join. Or if you want to get involved in a Porsche Cup series or an endurance series, you could join our waiting list for the Intercontinental Sim Racing Endurance Series, which is ran by us at ISRC. Or we also have a Porsche Cup Championship, which if you're interested in joining either of those, we've got another link to our Discord in the description if you want to check out more information about those. But yeah, after today's race at Silverstone, it's just I'm looking forward to the final 2 races. Martin, what about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to them. Road Atlanta, as we've already had Finn say, is a fantastic is a fantastic circuit. With the undulation there, and John Derrick noted that the undulation helped him at Mosport save a lot of fuel, so maybe that's an opportunity for him to pull another one out of the bag and go the full hour. Sorry, a frog in my throat. Yeah, and then with Nicolaisen capping off the AM Championship, all the pressure's off him, and he can just enjoy that. So, but yeah, I think certainly the LMP2 battle for the rest of the championship is going to be one to watch, as it's already hot and it can only get hotter, I reckon.
There we are. I've heard it from Martin and me. Get yourself involved in these final 2 rounds of the championship. But for now, from myself and Martin here at ISRC TV, thank you all very much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.